Welcome in, everyone, to the College Football Show, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m., 4:09 Eastern Time. Appreciate you being here. Sorry we're late. Thank you so much for your patience. It's much appreciated. All right. We have a number of warnings showing up already all over the place. What do we have here? Okay. Nothing that we need to be too concerned with. As long as you see me, and most importantly, hear me. And more important than that, I hear from you, hear the voice of college football, then we are doing just fine. Starting to get some activity across the college football landscape. Have you noticed? Players reporting, teams hitting the practice field. Alabama of note today. We will talk about the Tide just a bit. And of course, we will take your comments and questions as always. Make this a go-to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We have been extremely consistent, especially for this kid right here. Extremely consistent. We have made it 13 consecutive shows on time. And that means basically in the 4 o'clock hour, yes, a number of you are saying, Mark, you weren't on time today. Well, again, forgive me. We will make it worth your while. We will make it up to you. So thanks for being here. We always enjoy seeing all of you. And let's see when we say all of you what we mean here. Todd's here. Hello, Mark, and everyone. We've got Karen stopping by. Happy Monday. It is a happy Monday. It's a good Monday. I hope everyone's had a nice Monday. It was good to hear from an old friend just a few minutes ago. So this was just about an hour ago that I got a phone call from somebody near and dear. So it's good to hear from them and talk for a few minutes. And we're going to start to record some more segments as we did at one point. So it was very nice to hear from this gentleman. And he said, basically, Mark, you were on my mind today. And I said, well, that's very kind of you. Very nice of you. And so good to hear from an old friend of the show, an old friend, period. David, good to see you as well. Go Buckeyes. Phil's here. Florida State Phil. Hi, Mark. I think this is good for Florida State, meaning what we're about to talk about concerning the ACC. We've got Keith. When do Michigan and Ohio State STSR? Please, somebody help me out. STSR. Nick is here. Good to see Nick. And Keith as well. A couple Michigan fans in the chat. Nothing wrong with that. The Buckeyes are represented. The Wolverines, of course. We need to spread out the love, though, folks. Florida State, I see. And Karen, I believe, Virginia Tech and Mississippi State allegiances there, which, of course, they need to be. That needs to be worked out. We could possibly see them play in a bowl game or something, and we wouldn't want you to be all confused. All right, let's go to the news of the day. And again, we want to remind everyone that we've got a book out. It's Disputed National Champions. Goes back to the 1990s. But you don't have to be old like me to get a lot out of this book. It's not a historical book. For as much as I love history, and especially sports history, it was not written in that manner. And we've received a lot of very nice reviews as of late in particular. And Disputed National Champions, the links down in the description section below of this video and all the videos. And it's more than a history book. We propel all these results from the 1990s that we put into context and talk about the changes in college football, propel those into what we're seeing right now with the 14 playoff going away in 2023, the 12-team playoff, probably a 14 or a 16 coming up. Check out the shows from last week. We basically put the 2014 through 2024 seasons through the grinder of this 16-team playoff and what the SEC and the Big Ten are proposing. It's not necessarily a proposition when you say, we want to settle this like adults and we want to settle this kindly and courteously, but basically this is going to happen. All right. And again, Alabama goes to practice today, and we're going to talk about the situation in the ACC as well. Todd's here. Will is here as well. All right. Basically, the news of the day. maybe the week and beyond. And I've got to tell you that I have not delved into this. We may not have particulars until Tuesday. It appears as though the rulings are on Tuesday, but as is reported by ESPN and others, we kind of know what the rulings are going to be, that it's going to be a settlement. For all those folks out there that do what I do and forecasted Florida State and Clemson leaving the ACC, and we love realignment talk. We, meaning not necessarily you, not necessarily me, but we as a college football nation. And it is fascinating. It's interesting to think about what could happen, what will happen, and predict these situations. I've got tons of videos out there that did not come true, and I never purported those to be predictions or projections. They were always, well, this is being rumored, this is being talked about. How would, what my lane is to a certain extent is not necessarily to project any of this mess, but to read the tea leaves. And certainly we go in that direction at times, but more so, if this happens, this is the way the Big Ten should look. If this happens, this is what the SEC should do with these additional 4 teams or 4 schools. That's more my lane. So yes, I have plenty of inventory out there, videos, live streams talking about Florida State and Clemson leaving the ACC. So guilty as charged. So I'm in that boat as well. I never stated it, though, as this is going to happen. It sure looked like it was going to happen. So I will also not pull myself back from stating that I was one of pretty much almost everyone that said, sure looks like it. You typically don't go to court. And I would love to know how much money Florida State and Clemson have wasted, and the ACC. And if I were the ACC going forward, I would remind them, nudge them from time to time and say, yeah, our league would have another $300 million if you guys wouldn't have taken us to court for what has been over a year. I believe it was sometime last off season. Yeah, because that was following the Florida State debacle with 13-0, 13-1. Yeah, not making the playoffs. Yeah, 13-0, not making the playoffs. They eventually went 13-1 after they got blitzed by Georgia. So that came out right after that. So this is like January. Yeah, it's been about 11 or 12, 13, 14 months, something in that range. I just cannot imagine what the legal costs have been for these universities and for the ACC, fighting this on 4 different fronts. So consider that. Florida State sued the ACC in Florida. Then the ACC countersued in North Carolina. The same thing happened with Clemson in both South Carolina and North Carolina. All right, let's get to it here. You know we get serious when the glasses come out. Florida State and Clemson will vote Tuesday on an agreement that would ultimately result in the settlement of 4 ongoing lawsuits between the schools and the ACC and a new revenue distribution strategy that would solidify the conference's membership for the near future. The ACC Board of Directors is scheduled to hold a call Tuesday. Florida State and Clemson have both called board meetings to present the terms at noon Eastern Time Tuesday. Sounds like I better be here sometime after that. All 3 boards must agree to the settlement for it to move forward. But sources throughout the league expect a deal to be reached. The settlement includes 2 key objectives: establishing a new revenue distribution model based on viewership. Bingo! And a change in the financial penalties for exiting the league's grant of rights before its conclusion in June 2036. The ACC doesn't want to go through this again. So I'm sure the financial penalties will there were already financial penalties. This new revenue distribution model or brand initiative is based on a 5-year rolling average of TV ratings. So Florida State, you're going to win out big. Clemson, number 2. Miami should ease into the 3rd position. However, in looking at the last roughly 10 years, Louisville has actually had strong TV ratings. And at one point, I've seen some lists covering the last 8 to 10 years where Louisville outdistanced Miami. Then after that, it's pretty much a crapshoot. On the low end, I would think Wake Forest, yes. Duke, yes. After those two, I would think it would be a glut of Boston College and Syracuse and Pitt on the low end. Better than that would be North Carolina, NC State. But again, my goodness, that I would be fascinated to see how they are really, how are they interpreting those television ratings? I would be fascinated to see that, because there are such issues in determining television ratings and who's drawing in the crowd. Television ratings, well, first of all, when Wake Forest and Syracuse are relegated to the ACC network all the time, 2 years ago, when we reviewed ACC TV ratings and did our series here, Virginia Tech had one game in 2023. Virginia Tech had one game on ABC/ESPN. Their entire rest of their ACC schedule was on the ACC network. So would love to see how that they qualify that. And when Florida State and Clemson, or when Florida State and Wake Forest play, we know that most of the people tuning in are tuning in for Florida State. How is that accounted for? Well, people smarter than me are figuring that out. I would have some ideas on how to account for it. But that, I would love to see the numbers there on the 5-year television ratings. Though some logistics of this formula remain tricky. I guess I hit that one before I read it. Yes, very tricky. Including how to properly average games on the unrated ACC network or other subscription channels. Guess that's the CW. The brand initiative will be funded through a split in the league's TV revenue, with 40% distributed evenly among the 14 longstanding members, 60% going toward the brand initiative and distributed based on TV ratings. All right. Anytime I've ever talked about this, just to basically ballpark it, I have used a 50-50 split to say, this is what I see happening. The ACC is going to take 50% of its revenue and say, this is distributed evenly. And then they're going to take 50% of the revenue and they're going to distribute that based on the popularity of the brands. Well, it's going to be 60-40 in favor of this brand initiative and the popularity of the brands. Top earners are expected to net an additional $15 million or more, according to sources, while some schools will see a net reduction in annual payout of up to about $7 million, which makes sense because you would think on the surface, well, if these schools are going to make $15 million more, then these schools are going to make $15 million less. However, the schools that are driving, this is the same in every conference, but I would think that the SEC would be the most balanced. There are more name brands in the SEC than anywhere. That it's more balanced in regards to the popularity and the TV ratings. And the Big Ten certainly has a layer or two below Ohio State, Michigan, that fit in nicely in regards to bolstering the league. Penn State, Iowa draws well, USC, etc., Wisconsin when they're decent. But in the ACC, it's like Florida State, Clemson, Miami. Like we mentioned, Louisville's done well in the last 10 years in television ratings, but it's a very top-heavy league with very few. So their numbers in terms of revenue distribution versus the low end being distributed more among more of the poor schools, for lack of a better term. The brand initiative is expected to begin for the coming fiscal year. The brand fund, combined with the separate success initiatives fund approved in 2023 and enacted last year. So it's not just popularity. So you can't have the worst team in the league, and it's going to be offset by the popularity, but it's also based on success. Postseason appearances would allow teams that hit necessary benchmarks in each to close the revenue gap with the SEC and the Big Ten, possibly adding in the neighborhood of $30 million annually. Should a school make a deep run in the college football playoff or NCAA basketball tournament and lead the way in TV ratings. And lead the way in TV ratings. This all came out about as well as it could for the ACC. This is about as good as this possibly could have come out. They got a settlement. They didn't have to go to trial. They didn't go to, they went to court. And basically, they've got the Wake Forest and the Boston colleges over the barrel because, hey, do you want to play big boy football? Do you want to play in the big time? You're going to have to take this hit because we've got to reward the schools that bring in the numbers and the eyeballs. And now if you can get them, Florida State, Clemson, etc., in a somewhat competitive place versus the Big Ten and the SEC, then you're not going to be as strong as those two conferences, but at least you've taken your biggest brands and you've given them a competitive chance. The success initiatives are funded largely through money generated by the new expanded college football playoff and additional revenue generated by the additions of Stanford, Cal, and SMU, each of which is taking a reduced portion of TV money over the next 6 to 8 years. While the new brand initiative will involve some schools in the conference receiving less TV revenue than before. That's just the way it is. Taking a break to see your comments from David, the real MVP. And and we've got to credit to real MVP because he was one of the skeptics from day one and carried this on many times, and this became his tagline through much of this. To some degree, he would state something paraphrased like, is Florida State still in the ACC? It's April 24th. Is Clemson still in the ACC? And of course, Florida State was the one that initiated all this. Florida State kind of looks bad in a sense, but they got what they wanted. Now, I don't know this additional money that's going to Florida State and Clemson, in particular, Miami, how long this is going to take for this to offset how much money they spent fighting this. So let's say they do make $30 million additionally in football and basketball revenue through this distribution model that is going forward. I don't know how much money they spent, and we will never find out how much money that these schools spent litigating. Dave's here believes the Big Ten should go to this model. It's a great point. We've made it many times. Even though Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State seem to be doing just fine, why would you not say we carry the league? And the numbers they get for games, if there's a game in the Big Ten that does over 5 million in viewership, which there are typically, I might be off on this, but we run the numbers every year and we present our videos and do our TV rating series. But it's got to be, I'm going to guess, somewhere in the 15 game range, 15 to 20 games in the Big Ten that do at least 5 million viewership. And that means average number of viewers at any point in the game. That doesn't mean a total of 5 million people watch the game. More than that watched the game. That's at the average point during the game. All of those games, excluding maybe the rare occasion of USC and Nebraska. If we look that one up right now, I'm going to pretty much be certain that that game drew more than 5 million. But outside of like a USC Nebraska, maybe if Iowa's competing well and they play a USC, as they will in the future, they did not play them last year, nor will they in 2 years. And of course, Oregon, throw them in there to a certain extent. All those games are, first and foremost, Ohio State, Michigan related games. Ohio State and whoever, Michigan versus whoever, and then it's Penn State over the 5 million mark. So when fans of other teams sometimes criticize maybe Ohio State, Michigan getting their way, which certainly Michigan did not with the Big Ten this past 2 years ago in the 2023 season, when the Big Ten came down on their discretions, so yeah, I'm sure it's been talked about. I know it's been talked about among the powers that be. And that's why Ohio State and Michigan, first and foremost, can push things the way that they want to go. All right, let's keep going with this deal. We do appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Bring a friend or 2 or 50 along with you on Tuesday. And keep in mind that we've got this fine show coming your way Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We also have a recruiting show. It's called On the Move. It's recruiting and transfer portal update. We go live with Leanne Herring. This is typically on Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. This week, we're going to go Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, it's the On the Move show. Also, keep in mind, folks, that we are available on your favorite audio platform. So that is everything that you hear here. Everything available here is on your favorite audio platform. Spotify, Apple, Amazon. It's there. The Voice of College Football. All of our live programming, as well as all the team channels as well. Back to it. As a result of their inclusion in the CFP this past season, SMU Athletic Director Rick Hart said the Mustangs and Tigers each earned $4 million through the success initiatives. But think about this. We read the other day that these schools are receiving $4 million per round throughout the college football playoff. Think about this. The ACC had those 2 teams in. They lost immediately, so they made $8 million. ACC teams made $8 million. Ohio State played 4 games. There's $16 million. Penn State played 3. There's $28 million. Then we've got Oregon played. They got a bye, so they got $4 million for that. Then they got $4 million for the game that they played at the Rose Bowl. We are now at $36 million. Indiana played a game. That's another $4 million. The ACC made $8 million in the college football playoff. The Big Ten made $40 million. $40 million, $8 million. The Big 12, one team, one game. They did advance to the second round by way of a bye. $8 million for the Big 12. $8 million ACC, $8 million Big 12, $40 million Big 10. SEC, Texas made it 3 rounds. That's 12. Georgia made it 2. That's 20. And then Tennessee won 24. Big 10, 40. SEC, 24. Big 12 and ACC, $8 million each. Sources, the ever-popular sources, have suggested Clemson and Florida State would be among the biggest winners of this brand-based distribution. I think anyone who's watched college football for more than, about 4 weeks knows that. Though North Carolina and Miami are others expected to come out with a higher payout. Of course they will. Georgia Tech was actually the ACC's highest-rated program in 2024. And as soon as I read that, I knew why. So they play this week 0 game against Florida State. Well, when nobody else can watch any college football except for that game, then you're going to have a good rating. And then they had that 7 overtime game. I thought it was 8 overtime game against Georgia. And that did 9-something million. Basketball ratings will be included in the brand initiative, but at a smaller rate than football, which is responsible for about 75% of the league's TV revenue, which I've got to figure that basketball has a bigger portion, meaning 25%, than with any other league. If ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips is able to get this to the finish line Tuesday, it would be a big win for him and for the conference during a time of unprecedented change. Many speculated the league would break apart after litigation began in 2023. Both schools would consider it a win as well after they decided to file lawsuits. So, yeah, I kind of take a poke at Florida State for starting this mess and not getting what they ultimately wanted, which was a move to better league and better distribution guaranteed. Here they've got an opportunity to get the distribution, the revenue close to what it is apparently in the Big Ten and the SEC, but they got to earn it. There we go. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Look at this number. Okay. Florida State has just fought. Correct me on the math here. Florida State has just taken the ACC to court. And the best they're going to do out of this is to earn, at best, if they reach their potential in football and basketball and the TV ratings stay close to what they've been, which there should be no reason why that won't happen, Florida State is going to make, at best, $30 million more per year. According to Florida State's attorneys, could have meant paying as much as $700 million. Okay, I shouldn't have jumped the gun. I thought we were going to get a legal. Okay, that is just what Florida State would have owed the ACC had they left early. So they countersued, and here we are. Although the settlement will not make substantive changes to the grant of rights, it is expected that there will be declining financial penalties for schools that exit before 2036, with the steepest decreases coming after 2030, something that would apply to any ACC school, not just Clemson and Florida State. So, folks, it's already 2025. We're looking at 2030. So this isn't necessarily over if these schools have anywhere to run to. I thought that was overestimated at some point. That became pretty clear that Clemson and in particular Florida State overestimated its worth in the market. The specific financial figures for schools to get released from the grant of rights were not readily available. The current language would require any school exiting before 2036 to pay 3 times the operating budget, a figure that would be just about $120 million. This was seen as a critical piece to the settlement, allowing flexibility for ACC schools amid a shifting college football landscape, particularly beyond the 2030 season, when TV deals for the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the new iteration of the CFP come up for renewal. A figure Florida State's attorneys valued at more than $500 million over 10 years. Sources told ESPN that there had just been one number to exit the league, not the combination estimated by FSU as a traditional exit fee and the loss of media from the grant of rights. And lastly, in addition to securing the success and brand initiatives viewed within the league as progressive ideas to help incentivize winning, which I love, Phillips also guided the recently announced ESPN option pickup to continue broadcasting the ACC through 2036. So if this was strictly a business deal, forget who wins and loses these games. It would all be about who watches the games. It would be simply who watches the games and who brings in the most money for the conference. But I like that there's a competitive aspect to it, meaning competitive on the field. Good stuff. And yes, we do appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. And we get together each and every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And please make it a part of your day. I will possibly open up a call-in show at some point during the week, other than what we do here Monday through Friday. Anytime we are not doing anything in prime time or late night, people contact me, which I greatly appreciate that they have the interest, that request something in prime time or late night. Even though all of you have been able to make it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, how many of you would show up for a late night Voice of College Football call-in show, or maybe something in prime time? Lisa's asking, Mark, did you see the Columbus Blue Jacket game in Ohio Stadium on Saturday? I have always thought that was really cool. Concerning these hockey teams that play, the NHL started that how many years ago? Started playing outside. I think that's very cool. I did not, though. I don't watch hockey. I apologize concerning the dead air. My producer took the day off, and so did my graphics person, and so did my production assistant, and. We do want to let you know that you can benefit, in addition to listening to my lovely commentary and you guys taking part in the chat and us talking college football and the calls and all the fun and the breakdowns, that you too can also benefit from the voice of college football in other ways, meaning, as soon as I can find it, can we not get this stuff off the screen? There we go. There we go. So absolutely. So you can get your business, your product, your service, your personal brand to the next level by partnering with the voice of college football. As you can see, Win Agency, they are our most recent partner, and they're a current partner. They're still with us. Let's discuss how you can also reach your target market. And again, that's for a business, a product, a service, or your personal brand. Contact us at sponsorships@vocfb.com. And you might as well just do that right now. And we're back. And we're going to talk spring football. And we will drop the call-in line here in the chat. I wanted to look at Alabama a little bit here. Alabama opened spring practice today. Please check out on the Alabama channel. Had a sit down with Stephen M. Smith on Alabama quarterbacks and running backs. So check out those previews. And I wanted to note a few things here that are quite interesting. And of course, all these teams get to practice 15 times. And oh, by the way, Gene Stallings turned 90 today. All right. Happy birthday to Gene Stallings. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Coach Stallings. 90. And so the A-Day game for Alabama is April 12th. I wanted to hit on a couple quick notes here. First off is obviously Bama had a disappointing year, finishing at 9-4, although they came that close to making the college football playoff, and maybe they could have made a run. Who knows? I doubt it. They just were not playing that well. Jalen Milroe's gone. We talked about the quarterback situation with Stephen M. Smith. So again, check out that video. Ty Simpson seems to be the guy in play. However, he definitely is not the guy with the highest ceiling. It's a three-way battle there. And Kalen DeBoer, known for offense, known for explosive offense, and has been nothing but a success in every level of football as he has gone up the ranks. Man, already, when I say hot seat, I don't mean that the guy's going to get fired. I mean that it's going to get a little uncomfortable this year for him if they don't make the playoff and do something in the playoff. Now, he brings back his old buddy Ryan Grubb, who ran the offense with Michael Penix at Washington and was supposed to be in play as the OC at Bama in DeBoer's first season, but he ran off to the NFL. Isn't it strange how these situations go full circle in sports? Ryan Grubb is Kalen DeBoer's right-hand man at Washington. He leaves Washington with DeBoer, as is pretty customary, to go to Bama. He gets plucked away to what? The Seattle Seahawks in the NFL for one season. And now he reunites with Kalen DeBoer at Bama. So that is one storyline to check out because, again, they have an interesting quarterback battle there. Listen to this. So with this House settlement and with the elimination of walk-ons and all that is going on that changes college football roster dynamics. Listen to this with BAMA, and they can't be alone. Alabama's roster currently lists 124 players entering spring practice, which doesn't include 3 summer enrolling freshmen. That's 127. That means, assuming this House settlement is finalized, the Tide will need to cut 22 players by this fall to comply with the new 105-man roster limit. I assume other teams are in the same boat. There will be negatives for these players. It's not all pie in the sky. We're going to make big money, which they are. And even some marginal players are making, I'm sure, money that you would, and possibly I would as well, not stick our nose up at. All right. Let's see. We're going to take these calls. Man, this was a day in which, and I shared this with someone, I started out the day, and I do this many times. I make out my to-do list the night before. 37 items on my to-do list today. 37 items. And I've been working since like 8 a.m. 2 done, 35 to go. Other things come up, they get in the way. So the 37 becomes like 52. And so it just doesn't work out that way. I'm also on the first day of a juice cleanse. 3 days, nothing but whatever juice. I don't have it with me right here. Water also is included. That's allowed. The prep work included Reese's peanut butter cups and Oreos last night. And then I read their instructions going into the 3-day cleanse, and that's not exactly what they had in mind. I kind of missed that, but that's all right. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. We got our buddy Will on the line.
Hey, Mark. So about spring football, I want to hear your thought on this tweet I saw earlier today about spring football.
Okay.
No college football coach in America is canceling his spring game because he's worried that someone will scout the film and poach his hidden gems through the transfer portal. Spring games are just a burden for programs that coaches have been trying to get rid of for decades. Do you agree with that?
Well, this person needs to explain themselves. A burden. In what way is this a burden? They're moving basically their scrimmage from the practice field to the stadium. Everything else is taken care of by other staff. The head coach is not organizing the spring game. Like, this isn't, 7th grade football. Like, this person would have to. Where are we drawing this from?
College Football Watcher, his name is.
I don't know who they are, but and I'm not saying that they don't have any valid claim or reasoning there. They're just not expressing it there. I as well. Okay, we know that coaches are paranoid. We know that if they believe that they can gain a minute fraction of a percentage of advantage, or that they need to do something to make sure that they don't lose that advantage or have a disadvantage based on something, that they're going to eliminate that. So that made some sense to me, although I thought it was way overblown by these coaches. But that's in their nature, that they don't want their players to be on tape and be out there playing spring games. This is where we need a commissioner of college football, and we need a governing body, because that's like, do you see NFL teams canceling exhibition games, preseason games? No, they can't. They're under obligation. So nobody would be canceling spring games under my watch. Although somebody, when I said that last week, I loved the comment. I wish I could find it. Somebody was all mad at me and said, "Oh, you're going to make coaches should be able to do whatever they want. Coaches should be able to do whatever they want with their teams and their programs." Oh, they should, huh? Oh, so they should be able to practice these players as long as they want. They should be able to do 2-a-days every day of the week if they want. I came up with like 15 examples of things that coaches, just should be able to do whatever they want with their team. Okay. No. Make them play spring games. It's a TV show. They have to, the coaches and the players have to appear at news conferences, press conferences after the games, and at least once a week. Oh, so the coaches don't have to show up for those, I guess. No, so they're not explaining what the burden is.
Okay.
They're doing something that they do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They're just doing it inside the stadium. I don't see what the burden is.
Okay. And what were you? But before I say my next topic, I'll say I do agree. Like, I mean, if they lose that Florida State game, like Kalen DeBoer's like hot seat is gonna go from like warmer to.
Oh my goodness! Yes. Mm-hmm. When you come from the Nick Saban era into 9-4, yeah.
And then Chad Bowden said about Lincoln Riley, he is, as a recruiter, the best I've ever been around. Like, I know he's saying that to, like, talk up Lincoln Riley and talk down Marcus, but, like, they couldn't recruit California with Riley, so.
Yeah, there's not a lot of evidence. Now, he can certainly say that he's a good recruiter, that he connects with people, whatever he wants to phrase it. But like you say, he is going to talk up his head coach. But there's no evidence to that being the case. When I think great head coach, recruiters, I think Mario Cristobal, especially compared to his game management coaching. And then I think Kirby Smart.
Kirby Smart was the first one I thought of.
Steve Sarkisian. Yeah, I only said Mario first because there's such a discrepancy between. That's why he has the job he has.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the first three guys that come to mind. I guess Dabo does it, doesn't blow away people with his recruiting rankings, but he certainly is looking for a certain type of player and individual, and he sticks to that, and he's still able to field extremely talented teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and do you see Jimmy Johnson? He's retiring from Fox. I mean, he's
okay. My phone. There's so many settings on my phone. I don't even know how to control them, like the average person or somebody of your age. But I have something that pops on all sorts of news headlines that I would like to shut off. But I did see Fox personality retires, and I thought, wonder who that is. Jimmy Johnson. Okay. Jimmy Johnson. Can anybody state in the chat, Jimmy Johnson, what would be maybe a connection to college football that would be a claim to fame that is only held by, I can only think of 3 coaches? You know where I'm headed
Barry
here.
Switzer, Pete Carroll, Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, those are the 3 I'm coming up with. Yeah. That's got to be it. Mm-hmm. Bill Belichick as of 2025.
Mm-hmm. Did any other coach who won a Super Bowl coach in college besides Bill Walsh that won a Super Bowl?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Let's think about this. Because I love questions like this. Bill Walsh. Yeah, Bill Walsh at Stanford, of course. 2 times, 2 stints at Stanford. Dick Vermeil, UCLA, won the Rose Bowl. Mm-hmm. Cost Ohio State a national championship, which when we revise that, we're going to give them a share, I believe. We'll have to go through that. We'll see. Maybe not. I think Oklahoma was undefeated that year in 75. Anyway, John Robinson, USC, Los Angeles Rams, and he was highly successful. He went to at least one, I guess it was just one NFC championship game.
Yeah, because of the Flipper Anderson overtime winner.
Yes. They lost to the Niners in the NFC championship game, but they were consistently in the playoffs. So what are we up to? Like 6?
Denny Green. Well, I was saying coaches that won the Super Bowl, but yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're trying to get somebody in the Super Bowl that coached in college. Dennis Erickson did not make it to the Super Bowl, but he'd be a
But he
national
did, though.
championship coach that coached in the NFL. Lou Holtz,
Lou was rough at the Jets.
1 year.
God did not want me to be a coach in the National Football League, he said after that.
I bet he did. Steve Spurrier. No, I'm just throwing
My
guys
dad-
out there
yeah.
coaching on both levels.
Yeah. Steve Spurrier was rough.
Jim Mora
Jim Moore.
coached in an NFC championship game. Didn't come close to a national championship.
Did his dad coach in college at all? I don't think so.
I don't believe so. Who's this guy? Harbaugh?
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're diving deep here. That's a given, folks. No, we appreciate it. Dave's here. Thank you. Jimmy Johnson. Yeah, just one of three.
Yeah, the other Harbaugh. Yeah, John won one, but Jim has not. What do you think about Travis Hunter saying what he does is more impressive than what Ohtani does in baseball? That was another big headline.
I don't agree. I don't know why people have to make statements promoting themselves. We're impressed with you, Travis Hunter. You're the best player in college football. I would have voted you for the Heisman Trophy. You're phenomenal. What you're doing is exceptional. Can you just be gracious? Do I think it's more impressive? No. I don't. I think basically your athleticism is the reason you play both wide receiver and defensive back. The skill set, we can get very technical about, obviously catching the football is primary to a wide receiver, while playing cornerback, you could not intercept a pass the entire season and still be the best in the business. That there are nuances that are different, but it's all about speed and athleticism and ability to adjust. And they're both very similar athletic positions, as opposed to pitching and hitting. Completely different. Yeah, not even close. There wouldn't be so many people that would be capable of doing what Travis Hunter does. Not that he's not doing it at a higher level, but there have been players there hasn't been anybody that's been able to do what Ohtani has done since Babe Ruth, and not even him.
What do you think about Leffler leaving Bowling Green? No one can really care. I met one person that went to Bowling Green, but so it's not like a huge deal, but I feel like you shouldn't do that to a football program.
So I did not hear that. Leffler, the one that used to be with the Buffalo Bills and Syracuse. So at Bowling Green, he
stepped down.
He stepped down for any particular reason?
Leave Bowling Green.
So we're not talking about a health issue or something like that.
To be the Eagles quarterbacks coach.
Oh. Want to go be the Eagles quarterbacks coach. I can understand that. Would I rather be the head coach at Bowling Green or be the Eagles quarterbacks coach? Well, yeah. I don't know how much Jalen Hurts needs to learn these days, but I think that looks like a pretty cushy job. Okay. Yeah, that's the movement that we see with these coaches. We never used to see double moves in the off season. And I know that he didn't, but the Miami defensive coordinator comes to mind a couple of years ago. And some other people making double moves. Bill O'Brien, of course. last offseason. Yeah, that's not the best play. That's why when we were talking about coaches' contracts, when Luke Fickell got an extra year and somebody else got an extra year and Sark got an extension, does it really matter?
Yeah.
If the school decides to fire these guys, they're going to get fired regardless. And if they want to move on, they will move on.
And then the last point was Clark Lee said he's not going to call the plays anymore for Vanderbilt. So I don't know if that'll help them out at all. But
well, it's kind of ironic because they had their best offense in how long?
Well, he's year? Defense. Clark Lee's defense.
Oh, you think of it?
Yeah.
I got you. I'm sorry. Call the plays on defense. Well, I would think that that's kind of the way we're headed. A lot of coaches have given that up across the board. Yeah, I was a bit confused there for a second. I was thinking,
But, yeah. I mean, with Pavia coming back, I don't know, they could maybe kill off beat like an LSU or all at home, Missouri at home.
Yeah, they'll be an interesting one to watch. I think it's going to be difficult for them to continue to elevate from where they are. If they can maintain that 7-6, then that will be an accomplishment.
But who do you think, if you were a football general manager, who would you pick first? Like in terms of like not position, not mattering. Who do you think's the best player you saw in college football?
Oh, Travis Hunter's the best player.
You would pick him for.
Well, quarterback is so important.
Yeah. I know, like some people were making a case for Abdul Carter, but yeah, I guess you're right. I'm saying that.
Yeah, Travis Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
From the first time I saw him play against TCU, I just thought, man, I'm watching this guy do some things that you just don't see very often.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mark. Well, thanks for taking my time. Wanted to
absolutely
talk some college football, but appreciate it, Mark.
Thanks, Will. Have a good day. I believe we had DeReal MVP hanging out, but if you'd like to call back, that would be great. If not, we will keep moving here. There were some other notes. Those were the items I wanted to hit on concerning Alabama. This is an interesting note with the player reduction and having to cut the players. And of course, those players will hit the portal. But we have an excess of players, is the point. In the universe of college football, we apparently have an excess of players, if that's any indication. And I got to think that that's pretty typical. 22 extra players at Alabama. Well, sure, they can go a few other. They're at Alabama. That's not the issue. They can go other places. But once that trickle-down effect takes effect, we're going to be leaving players on the sideline, correct? They're going to be out of a job. You know, the guys that trickle all the way down to Georgia State and Troy and Louisiana Monroe, Akron and Kent, let's throw them at the bottom. Got sponsorships available here at the Voice of College Football. Service, product, your personal brand. Hit us up at sponsorships@cfb.com. We also have the audio from all these live shows available on your favorite audio platform. The Amazon links in the description section of all the videos. And I just violated the rule that I give our other hosts that I say do not do all your promos at the same time. But I just did. Next up, Neil Brown has a job with Texas, apparently. According to Adam Rittenberg, Texas is targeting former West Virginia and Troy coach Neil Brown. Role is to be determined. Deal is not finalized. Okay? Is Sark going the way of Nick Saban? We're just going to collect coaches and we'll find, I just want to scarf up every functional former head coach and we'll find something for them to do. Neil Brown is probably going to kick around a couple times and then he's going to find another spot. He's going to be in the American Conference coaching as a head coach here in about 3 to 4 years. Texas opened spring practice on March 17th. And then unfortunately, we heard the other day, well, let's talk about two unfortunate incidents, but in particular, Pitt freshman cornerback Mason Alexander, 18, dies in a car accident. So this happened over the weekend, and he had just signed with Pitt and was just going through winter workouts. Pronounced dead at the scene. Passenger in a 2016 BMW. So that is heartbreaking. Hugh Freeze diagnosed with prostate cancer. This article written by Mark Schlabach. From what I've seen, fortunately, it's not going to impact Hugh Freeze at this point. I'm sure it impacts him, but not going to impact his job. Doctors detected the disease in its early stages. Freeze, 55, will continue coaching the Tigers, receiving treatment. Detected early, advised, and very treatable. Expected to make a full recovery. So anytime that disease is brought up, it's serious business, unfortunately, but we hope and pray that Hugh Freeze will be fine. And we certainly lift up in prayer all the friends, the family, the loved ones with that young Pitt wide receiver. They will need a lot of comfort and support in the coming days. I guess we've got some time here. So we've got our company meeting here at the Voice of College Football, just to give you a little inside baseball talk. Got our company meeting coming up at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So we're going to get the group together and run down all the great things we got going on here at the Voice of College Football. I saw something earlier today that I wanted to bring to light, and it's going to be a bit difficult for me to find it now. But somebody on CBS Sports had posted what teams had helped themselves during the offseason the most. And here it is. We'll take one from John Talty. I have not looked at this. I've not prepped this at all. So I'm going in blind, but that's everything we do here. So these are apparently the teams that have made the biggest strides in the offseason. The offseason winners in college football. Again, the credit goes to John Talty of CBS Sports. I see Brian Kelly there. BAMA. Okay, we talked about this earlier today. Ryan Grubb coming back as offensive coordinator of Kalen DeBoer's offense. That's a big positive. Alabama in the transfer portal. Miami wide receiver Isaiah Horton's a player. Colorado linebacker Nikai Hill-Green. He made plays there. Utah cornerback Cameron Calhoun. Can't say off the top of my head that I can make an evaluation there. Auburn. Hugh Freeze. Do something. Kick it into gear. I'm sorry to hear your news today, but we're sticking to what's going out on the field. And, man, Auburn. Wow. They were bad last year. They put together one really good football game against Texas A&M. But, man, 14 losses in 2 years for Hugh Freeze. And they are recruiting well. They've kicked into NIL, transfer portal. Eric Singleton coming in. I am so impressed with that guy. Love that guy. Wide receiver at Georgia Tech. Now he gets to an offense that, despite Auburn's issues last year, you might think, well, their passing game and their offense sucked, and Hugh Freeze is supposed to be an offensive guy. Why has he not fixed this in 2 years? Well, that really wasn't the problem last year. Look at Auburn's passing numbers. They were in the top 25 or 30 in the nation in pass efficiency, yards per game. They were not a disciplined football team. Way too many turnovers. Jackson Arnold. Still going to have to fight for the starting quarterback position at Auburn, but Jackson Arnold throwing to Eric Singleton. And let's understand that once Jackson Arnold was benched against Tennessee last year, then he came back a few weeks later, about 3 weeks later, he came back. Significantly better player, even despite missing 5 wide receivers. And a great recruiting class, again, from Hugh Freeze. Clemson. This is more about what's happened on the sideline with, of course, Tom Allen in to coach the defense and replacing Wes Goodwin. And Dabo, the last 2 off seasons, has been much more aggressive than he's been in the past, where he basically got comfortable with certain assistants and coordinators and stuck with them. And you can't argue with that because Clemson, for a 10-year period, was on par with Alabama. But it's gone stale for quite some time now. So he got rid of Brandon Streeter last year, brings in Garrett Riley, now Tom Allen, and that's an excellent defensive coordinator hire. Peter Woods coming back. And according to Bill Connolly, Clemson has the most returning production in college football in 2025, despite losing Phil Moffitt, running back. Cade Klubnik's back at quarterback. And Cade Klubnik is arguably, who else would be on this list? Is he the best quarterback in college football coming back? Florida State, what have they done? Well, they picked up, Tony White as defensive coordinator from Nebraska. Gus Malzahn to run the offense, which is an interesting dynamic with Mike Norvell and his offense being the offense and Mike Norvell being the mastermind of the offense. And what a mastermind he was last year as they scored 13 points per game. Or in the bottom 5 in just about every offensive category, but in steps Gus Malzahn. Thomas Castellanos. does not convince me as a big-time, top-level quarterback. Deuce Robinson, great pickup from USC. Dude can play. Big, rangy, Jimmy Graham type. Squirrel White, Tennessee, another excellent pickup. Micah Pettis from Ole Miss. Okay. LSU, big year for Brian Kelly. 10-4, went to the SEC championship game. 10-3, won a bowl game against Wisconsin that nobody cared about. 10-3 again. No, 9-4. Lost 4 games this year, beat Baylor. They are getting lost in the middle of the SEC. And he needs to get going. They did blow it with Bryce Underwood, yes. They just got outbid there. Okay, so Nick Anderson comes in from Oklahoma. 2 years ago, Nick Anderson had a big year, caught a lot of touchdown passes. Florida State edge rusher Patrick Payton, it's got to be proven to me that he's really an impact player because he was not when he was supposed to be the guy taking over for Jared Verse, basically as that number 1 edge rusher. Northwestern offensive lineman Josh Thompson, who's an excellent player and was one of the top 3 or 4 offensive linemen in the transfer portal. Oregon. So according to our CBS sports writer here, he really likes Oregon having won the offseason. So they recovered well from their losses, but man, did they lose talent. This Dylan Thieneman is an excellent safety at Purdue. Tulane running back Mekhi Hughes. All right, Penn State, of course, addition and subtraction here working in Penn State's favor. That's Jim Knowles, one of the best defensive coordinators in the country, leaving Ohio State, and Matt Patricia, jury's still out. I didn't love the hire, but Jim Knowles goes from Ohio State to Penn State. Jim Knowles is following in line with Brent Pry, Manny Diaz, Tom Allen, all excellent DCs for Penn State. They need to, and of course, they had a lot of retention. Some excellent players coming back. Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, Drew Allard, quarterback, of course, Denai Dennis Sutton. So kind of a retention theme at Penn State. At wide receiver, they lose Amari Evans, nothing special. Trey Wallace, decent. They pick up Kyron Hudson from USC, spectacular in spots. South Carolina. Again, it's about retention here, both NFL draft and transfer portal related. Keep quarterback Lenora Sellers primed for a big year, and defensive end Dylan Stewart, who, when I was paying attention to South Carolina, looked like one of the best players in college football. Unfortunately, Dylan Stewart was a little rambunctious against LSU and had a great game when he wasn't committing stupid penalties. And that was costly. Utah State transfer Rasul Faison. He ran for over 1,000 yards last year with the Aggies of Utah State. And then they mentioned Ohio State quarterback transfer Aaron Noland. Hopefully for Shane Beamer, he is not going to step on the field. And really when I was talking about, and this is where South Carolina was just imposing last year, was in addition to Dylan Stewart, Kyle Kennard on the other end. They were devastating. Texas Tech, boy, they went at it this year, didn't they? In the offseason, came out of nowhere. Romello Height from Georgia Tech, really good player, who was like a top 10 player in the nation coming out of high school. Skylar Gill Howard out of Northern Illinois. Don't know anything about him. Anthony Holmes out of Houston. They got themselves a general manager. USC. USC is tearing it up in recruiting right now. But the losses were pretty brutal. Deuce Robinson, we talked about him going to Florida State. I think he's a special player, a different type of player. Zachariah Branch. Now, again, you talk about special. He's about as quick as anybody in college football. An offensive lineman, Emmanuel Pregnon, goes to a rival in Oregon. This is more about the future at USC. This is more about the future at USC. The future looks bright. Their personnel office moves look impressive, and they're recruiting well for 2026 and 2027. But for this season, it could be rough for SC. I did not see the NFL Combine, which I'm typically just locked into. I have typically turned that on day one at whatever 10 in the morning, and I just keep it on and watch it and love it and soak it up. I did not watch any of the Combine. Now, I saw what was posted on social media, saw that Kyle McCord talked about that whole transition, and sometimes off the heels of the Combine, it's interesting more so to hear what these players had to say in interviews when being prompted and asked about certain situations than it is to watch them actually run through these drills, which there can be debate over how valid these drills are. But with Kyle McCord talking about, he made the statement, McCord did, after Ohio State lost to Michigan on the same day that he led a 21-point comeback to defeat Miami and get his Syracuse team to 9-3. And that was really the game that people finally noticed Syracuse was doing anything. Now, we noticed here at the Voice of College Football, and all of you, we follow it, but where people nationally thought, oh, wow, Syracuse is having a good year, and look at Kyle McCord, and he set the ACC passing record for a season by a ton, even though he played less games than Deshaun Watson. So there was this high of jubilation on the same day that Ohio State was getting drubbed by Michigan. But as it all turned out, he said all the right things in terms of rooting for his teammates and his buddies, and they were his guys, and things working out for him, things working out for Ohio State in the end. That was notable. And also Will Howard's performance or lack thereof made fun of on social media. I saw like 3 missed throws. Shedeur Sanders came to Will Howard's defense, either legitimately coming to his defense, thinking this is ridiculous, or feeling bad for the guy and thinking I'll come to his defense. The only thing I'll say about that is I guess Will Howard did not perform well at the Combine. Or maybe he did not perform well in the higher profile exercises. And sometimes that gets overblown. But let's understand, Will Howard just won a national championship. That doesn't have anything to do with his NFL status in terms of measurables. It does in terms of what's between his ears and what's in his heart. That shows a lot. Him coming back from the last regular season game to propel the team to a national championship. Quite impressive. Quite impressive. but he missed some throws and works with receivers. And keep in mind, Cam Ward did not throw. Who else did not throw? Somebody else opted out. Did not throw because they want to throw to their guys. There is a timing mechanism to it that means a lot. So Will Howard taking a hit after the NFL Combine, but I will simply say that I know that following C.J. Stroud's first preseason game with the Houston Texans, after he threw a pick and only completed like 4 of 11 passes, all sorts of people wrote him off. That's brilliant. Folks, we do appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. And again, Disputed National Champions, you'll love the book. I am letting you know right now, I believe you will love it. And if you don't, sorry, no money back guaranteed. It's only $10. Give me a call. Let me know what you did not like about it. Is that a deal? Call me up. Let me know what you did not like about it. I will not cry. I will not pout. I will not scream at you. I will say that's good feedback. Because as of now, to date, we have received nothing but great feedback. And so I appreciate greatly everyone who has left a review on Amazon. And if you have read the book, have the book, please go to Amazon and leave a review. That is crucial to the circulation of these books. It's huge. So that would help us out considerably. And also for many of you who have left very nice responses here, please take those to Amazon. Just go to Amazon, look up the book, Disputed National Champions, write your review. Thank you so much for doing that. And again, the links in the description section of this video and all the videos. And again, we want to build up our audio presence here at the Voice of College Football. So we've got about 2,000 people watching us right now. All of you go to the audio if you so choose. Of course, I'm not commanding that you go and listen to the audio, but if that's something that you normally do, is listen to some of your college football. Wow, that was strange. I'll let you know what just happened in a second. Then go sign up on whatever it is, Spotify, Amazon, Apple. So I think I said off the top that I'm doing a 3-day juice cleanse. So I didn't gorge myself last night, but I had a lot of sweets last night before I went to bed. Late last night. So I started my cleanses today. I've had 2 of these bottles. And then just a second ago, boy, I got lightheaded for a minute. So we'll see about my 3-day juice cleanse. But I am committed to it. I will follow it through. It will happen. It will happen. But man, that was a weird feeling. I don't go lightheaded ever at all. All right, folks, we do appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. And we'll make it back here on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So bring yourself, bring a friend, bring 2 friends or 50 friends. If everybody brings 50 friends, then we'll be in good shape. Absolutely, we will stay hydrated. I'm going to go grab another juice and plenty of water. Yes, stay hydrated. You as well, Will. Good to see everyone here at the Voice of College Football. We will see you Tuesday at 4 Eastern.